Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. We have a great show planned for you. It's not today's show, but it'll happen in the coming days or so. But I have a pretty good one today. We're going to try to make sense of the world for you. I mean, if the Republicans could figure out a way to screw things up even more, well, they'd be Republicans because they found a way to screw things up even more. 2 new ways. What the hell is wrong with these people? We're going to talk about that. Also, the Islamicist invasion continues, some disturbing news on that, and the ceasefire held. But there is a problem that at least I see, and maybe you don't. I've been saying this since the war first came out. I was so frustrated watching the news on the first weekend that the war started because I don't need opinions. I want some facts. And I think influencers and podcasters, maybe even me, we're just getting too far ahead of ourselves. Just too far ahead of ourselves. And it's not going to sit well with the American people. I don't mean to say that I'm perfect, because I'm not. I know I'm messing it up too. But I, as an individual, I want facts. I want facts. I want to understand what's happening. And nobody is explaining to me. They're telling me what they think is happening, but nobody is explaining the ground situation. Nobody is really explaining, look, this is not what you think it is. This is much more complex than somebody just saying, Israel bad, America bad, Iran bad. It's much more complex than that. And I want to start there because there's some things that we have to clear up. For instance, why is Israel hammering Lebanon? Why is that even happening? That's a trending question on X and Google today. Why is Israel even hammering Lebanon? So let me explain that. But also, why is Lebanon and Israel the one in the news about the ceasefire when at the same time that was happening, no one reported that Iran launched 94 drones and 23 missiles at the Gulf states? At the same time, Kuwait had 28 drones, some hitting oil, power, and desalinization facilities, which I thought was a war crime if Donald Trump was going to do that. The UAE yesterday intercepted 17 missiles, 35 drones. They hit a gas complex, injuring 3, and Bahrain intercepted 6 missiles and 31 drones. Okay, why was nobody talking about that, just Lebanon? Well, because, quite honestly, I believe, and I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, many of our sources online have been captured. Whether they know it or not, they have been captured, and they're not giving the benefit of the doubt to America. And I want to explain that in 60 seconds. First, next time you find yourself climbing up a ladder to clean out your gutters, I want you to pause for a second and really think about what you're doing. You're balancing up there. You're digging through wet leaves and debris. You're trying to clear something that you know is just going to fill right up again next time it rains. And while you're doing that, your weekend is just going by. That's time you could be spending with your family, or actually relaxing, or doing anything else other than standing on that stupid ladder with a problem that keeps coming back. Leaf Filter is designed to keep leaves and debris out of your gutters while letting your water flow, so your system can actually work without you having to babysit it, which means you can get your time back. Stop spending your weekends doing something you were never meant to do in the first place. Start protecting your home today with Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Schedule your free inspection at leaffilter.com/Glenn Beck. Get up to 15% off at leaffilter.com/Glenn Beck. Minimum purchases required. Restrictions to apply. See representative for warranty and promotion details. So why does this feel so chaotic? Why do we really not know what's going on? When you watch something, and this is a normal human trait, we have this innately so we can survive. We are not meant to live in chaos, and we're not meant to live in a world that is so unbelievably complex. So we're all looking for answers. We're all looking for meaning. We're looking for straight lines that make sense to us. Draw a line and say, that's what's happening. Unfortunately, in something like this, at this point, that instinct is going to hurt you because what we're looking at right now is not clean. It isn't one plan. It's not, it's not just one guy or even two guys moving pieces across the board. It is competing interests stacked on top of each other, sometimes working together, sometimes working at cross purposes, sometimes colliding in ways nobody fully controls at all. So let me just take this apart. What are we looking at here? We're looking at first Iran. From the outside, it's easy to say Iran. And it's one thing, one regime, one decision maker, one intention. But it's not. It's not. You have the people who, some of them are for the old regime. I think the majority are against the old regime. But we haven't even seen anything from them. Then you have the politicians who sit across tables and speak the language of diplomacy and understand sanctions and market pressures and what isolation's going to cost us and all of that crap, okay? And those people are now the pragmatists. They're the ones going, we got to keep the country breathing. The economy is about to collapse. I have a story on this coming up in just a minute. I can quote them word for word. The economy is about to collapse. Then you have another group. You have the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. This is a completely different animal entirely. They don't just fight the wars. They are the ones that run industries. They control all of the ports. They move the money. They have built a banking and ecosystem that feeds off of chaos and instability. The more tension in the system, the more relevant they become, the more indispensable they become. And they're not dead yet. So when you see a negotiation on one side and a missile on the other, the easy answer to say, they're out of control. No. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're doing exactly what they were built to do, apply pressure without triggering collapse. Now let's look at the other players. Let's just look at China, because there was something going around yesterday going, China, Donald Trump is playing and going after China. And I think that's part of it. But China's not in this for the ideology. Let's look at China here for a second. They certainly don't care about, revolution and theology. What they care about is flow of oil, trade routes, stability where it matters, instability where it can be managed. No one, except honestly the IRGC, nobody wants chaos because it doesn't benefit anybody if you want to live in today's world. Okay? Iran is giving them a way around all of the pressure to be able to keep them on their side. That's discounted energy. Okay? But there's a limit to that because China doesn't want a fire it can't control. It doesn't want a regional war that spikes global markets or forces choices that it doesn't want to make. So the relationship with China is real, but it's not blind loyalty. It's transactional, and it can tighten or loosen depending on the temperature. Then you have Israel. Israel, they got us into this war. Can we just look at Israel for what it really is? A separate state that thinks that it is, right or wrong, thinks that it is facing an existential danger, that these guys will wipe Israel off the face of the map. It's a decision of not if, but when, which one's going to do it. And they're not waiting around for anyone else to solve this. They have their own interest. You don't have to like them. You don't have to agree with them. But they are a separate entity entirely. They act when they believe they have to. And those actions also ripple outward, whether anybody likes it or not. Every strike, every response, everything feeds back into the system and changes the next move. For instance, yesterday, ceasefire is over. I want to get into that here in a little while, but let me just say, why? Why were they saying that? Because Israel was hitting Lebanon, and there is a dispute. Was that part of the ceasefire or not? I'll get into this later. But let me explain why they are going after Lebanon. They're not going after Lebanon or the Lebanese people. They're going after Hezbollah. And I want to forget about the Middle East for a second. Let me explain this as Mexico. Let's say right across the border, there was, and this is not going to be a far stretch, right across the border, there was a a vile, awful, nasty drug cartel just over the border in Mexico. And we knew they were doing more than just pumping drugs into us. We knew that they were planting bombs and killing our citizens on this side of the border. And we had had enough. And we had said to Mexico over and over again, you got to control this. You got to get them out of there. You got to get them out of there. And they never did. And so then we said, okay, we'll do it. And at some point, Mexico said, we're with you on that. You got to get out. This drug cartel, you got to stop it and you got to get out. But they couldn't really mean it. They didn't have the teeth to do it. They wanted that, but they're not going to be able to do it themselves. And so what would we do? We wouldn't care if Mexico was with us or against us. We wouldn't care if there was a big global war that was happening someplace else. If our people were being killed by this drug cartel terrorist group, we would bomb them. That's what Israel is doing. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm just telling you what it is. That's why they were bombing. Because they have Hezbollah, which, by the way, is a proxy of Iran, Hezbollah, right across their border. And they've made it very clear. We're not taking it anymore. We are wiping all of this out. Okay? And these groups like Hezbollah and everything else, they're in this gray zone. They're actually connected. They're an arm of the IRGC in Iran. But everybody wants to keep them in the gray zone. But they're operating with the money and the consent of the IRGC. And they extend the battlefield. They blur the responsibility. They make ceasefire a word that doesn't mean what everybody thinks it means. So when something breaks, when missiles fly, when agreements look like they're ignored, the temptation is to say, somebody violated something. Somebody broke the deal. And it is weird to me, as I told you just a minute ago, how many bombs and missiles and drones the IRGC sent over the border of other countries yesterday, and the same time that Israel was bombing Lebanon. And that's a clear violation. What Iran did is not in dispute. That's a clear violation, but no one reported on it. Which then goes to why? Why? What was the motivation of almost everyone in our press yesterday? What was the motivation of those who are podcasters and influencers to not mention that? I'll tell you what Israel is doing, and I'll tell you don't have to like it, but that's what they're doing. But I'll also tell you this is what Iran was doing. And I'm not saying one is better than the other or one causes the other. I'm just telling you the facts. Why would no one do this? This is where the hot take influencers and podcasters are coming in. Because they'll all say there's a master plan. And it ranges from Donald Trump has sold us out, or Israel is selling us out, or whatever. Okay? And they'll make it look like everything is being controlled. And, one person is pulling all the strings. It's satisfying. It honestly, it helps you reduce the chaos in your own mind. And it helps you feel perhaps more secure because we need that reduction in chaos. But most of the time, it's not right. It's not right. And it's not right because we don't have all of the facts yet. And also, power at this level, when it is this complex, is not a single mind playing perfect chess. It is moving through advisors and priorities in different countries and public pressure and limited information. There are strategies, there are patterns, but there's also just reaction. There are moments when decisions are made with incomplete picture. And that's happening right now in real time in all of our information systems. So let me go through this because there are constraints here in America. And there are things you need to understand. And then I want to go through some of the things that people were saying, and I want to explain them to you. Not justify anything, just explain them to you so you you maybe can reduce the chaos in your day and understand this a little bit better. We'll continue here in just 60 seconds. First, let me tell you about our sponsor. Our sponsor is SuperSure. Most business owners don't, set out to create a complicated insurance situation. It just happens over time because you can't buy everything all from one person. It doesn't work that way. Well, it didn't used to. You work with one broker for one thing and then somebody else for somebody else, and then coverage spreads across different places. You haven't looked at it as a whole. Nobody really is. This is where SuperSure comes in. This is brand new. This is a licensed insurance agency that has reinvented. I'm telling you, this is the future of insurance. My wife grew up in an insurance family, and this is something I know my father-in-law would have loved this. All the coverage in one place, and you can actually understand how it all fits. Their platform is clean, straightforward. It gives you a clear view of your policies, your documents, your coverage. You're not digging through emails or chasing down information. Somebody gets hurt, somebody needs something. All of it right there. It's right on a dashboard. It is great. SuperSure.com. Go to SuperSure.com. Get a full report on your current policies with no obligation. Find out if you're overinsured, underinsured, or somewhere in between. Go to SuperSure.com. One super agency, one powerful platform, all of your policies in one place. SuperSure.com. SuperSure.com. Paid for by SuperSure Insurance Company, LLC, a licensed insurance agency. 10-second station ID.
Glenn Beck is on.
Okay, so we have things that are really constraining us. Here in America, we're constrained by our war fatigue and our economic risk. Alliances that we have that have to be managed, not commanded, and everything we do carries weight beyond the immediate target. So when you're looking at the news of the day, especially when it comes to the war, you have to understand you're not watching one or two entities. You're watching a very crowded room. Different players, different goals, overlapping strategies, some of them pushing towards stability, others benefiting from tension, few trying to shape outcomes that nobody fully controls. Iran's not a voice. China isn't a puppet master. The United States isn't operating without limits. Israel isn't sitting still or controlling all of it. The proxies are not background noise. All of it is one giant stew. And if you try to reduce this, as people have been trying to do, one villain, one genius, one plan, you're going to miss the signals that actually matter. And I did my homework on this yesterday because I thought of something that really kind of scared me. And I thought, I haven't even thought of this. And I started doing my homework on it. And I think we're okay. But with that one understanding, it gave me a completely different view of even this 10-point plan, which we don't even know what the 10 points are. Okay? We don't even know. But you got to look for the small shifts and the pressure points and the moments where things can tip, not necessarily because somebody intended it, but because the moving parts lined up in the wrong way or the wrong time, or worse yet, I've been telling you this for a while, world wars are not started by one party just being crazy. It's usually started by one party just making a bad miscalculation. That's how situations like this get away from people. And that's why I urge podcasters and everybody else, slow down. Slow down. You don't have to be right today. You don't. Just try to make sense. Try to help people understand what is happening right now. Because if things like this get misunderstood, the next move is usually made with far too much confidence. We have to understand it first, and we have to understand first that we don't understand it. That's why I think we need to slow down. That's what I think the media, new and old, is missing. So let me get to the problem that hit me yesterday. And I think I have a happy answer after doing some homework. But our side is being run by the world's best deal maker, right? I trust that guy to sit down at the table against anybody and make a deal and think that deal is going to be in our best interest and we're going to get the best deal we could possibly get with whomever he's sitting across the table, okay? But he's used to sitting down with people who are buying buildings or, even nations that nations want to survive. There is a group of people in the IRGC that they think their win is death and chaos. We're judging all these non-existent 10-point deals and talking about deal making, but what if the people that actually have control don't want a deal? They want the return of the Mahdi. How should we be negotiating if we knew we were playing against those kind of players? I'll give you that answer in about half an hour. I also want to just go through some of the chaos yesterday and kind of put it into perspective to help you understand. Next. All right. Tell you about my Patriot Supply. You don't get to schedule problems. They don't check your calendar. They're not like, it's a convenient time. They just give you, they just do it. No heads up. They show up and, when they do, the first thing people realize is how much they were counting on everything working the way it always has. That's why preparation matters. Not because you expect something to go wrong tomorrow, but because, you don't want to figure it out after it already has gone wrong. This is why my Patriot Supply helps you get ahead of that. With emergency food kits designed to last, store easily, be there when you need them, you're not left hoping things are going to work out. You've already taken care of it. Because when the problems do show up, and they will, the difference between being prepared for them and scrambling to catch up is remarkable. Right now, go to preparewithglenn.com. When you get a 3-month emergency food supply kit, they will include a free mega protein upgrade. It's a $200 bonus. You don't want to miss this. It's a simple way to protect your family from whatever comes next. Go to preparewithglenn.com. Get your emergency food supply today. That's preparewithglenn.com. Preparewithglenn.com.
We just made our explosive full-length Jihad from Within special completely free at stoptheconquest.com. It's the unedited version YouTube wouldn't allow. Go and watch it now.
Welcome back, Glenn Beck Insiders, and to the Torch Insider Show. This is what I could not wait to talk about today, because it was just wild watching all of this unfold yesterday. From Darkstar in San Antonio said, we have a full-blown PSYOPs campaign, information warfare operation going on here. The war is here. It just isn't bombs yet. Influence ops is a facet of fifth-generation warfare, 100%. And it feels like that we are playing right into that PSYOP with the way that the way the news cycle is designed for clickbaity headlines, the way that the podcast network is set up now, the way that social media influencers are set up right now. It's designed specifically to lose this, as Darkstar put it, fifth-generation warfare, PSYOP, and information game. And I don't know if people are useful idiots. Maybe I should give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they are not useful idiots. Maybe they just already have bad intent, and they are just willing to jump to conclusions because they have bad intent. So let's just jump to conclusions. Let's explain a little bit of this weirdness. I want to get to Donald's comment. Donald said, from what I saw at 10, after a ceasefire was agreed to, Israel decided to break it. Where am I wrong? Well, there's a lot of ambiguities and just plain false information, and also just conflicted information. Yes, Glenn.
We're gonna go to all of this here in a second. So I hate to.
Don't steal Glenn's thunder.
This was going to be the best insider segment
I want
ever.
to go through all of this because it's so important. I want you to join me, and so I won't be regurgitating your words. I want you to talk about this, because Ricky came in with a stack full of stuff today too, and she was like, I got it, and I'm like, I don't care what other people are saying about me. I don't care. Ricky does, and she thought it was important.
It's not about defending you. It's about defending the truth.
Okay. So we're going to get into that, but I want to get into all of the things that you're talking about here in just a second.
Awesome.
By the way, insiders, I would really love to hear from you. I just asked Ricky. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all. I don't know. I hope I'm not coming off in a way where I'm like, I'm smarter than everybody else. In fact, I think I'm trying to say the exact opposite. I don't know the answer, but I don't think anybody does. And I think it's important that we recognize that, or we're going to make really stupid mistakes and put ourselves so far down the road in a wrong turn We just need to slow down, and I hope it's coming off all right.
Yeah, I think it is. Obviously, the smartest insider in the chat, user handle student of Rush Limbaugh, said Glenn is being so responsible here. The cost of the membership for the next decade is paid with this monologue. You heard that, all you freeloaders on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Get in here, join this community, and get smart like the student of Rush Limbaugh.
I tell you, yesterday I worked with Lynn on the
Who's
bigger.
Lynn?
Lynn is our CEO, and he is the. I mean, I hate to have his job. My God. But I was talking to him about, he's like just pulling his hair out, just trying to keep everything together, and I'm like, yeah, but I got this big idea. We got to get going on this. And he's like, okay. But we were talking about the main thrust of this is I'm trying to build something that hopefully in 27 we'll be able to show you big pieces of it, where I need to. My goal is how do we prepare the public to be well informed enough to be able to be responsible with their own government? Because that's what Jefferson said. A well-informed public is responsible enough to handle their own government. So how do we? What do you need? And we're trying to build some things with homeschooling and just for you, and we'll talk more about it. But that's our real goal. Is everything we're doing, we're trying to create people that in 5 years, 10 years can save the republic. They'll know it so well they'll be able to save the republic. So when you do join us, and I thank you for joining us if you're an insider, thank you so much, because that's where your money is going. Believe me, your money's not coming to me. The money is going into building something much, much bigger than what the torch is. So thank you for that. Join us on our mission, if you will.
Thanks, Glenn. So
right.
as you heard in the next segment, that is directly where Glenn is going to. Those first comments that I read, I just want to remind you of those. Darkstar talked about the PSYOP campaign, information warfare, and Donald asked about Israel breaking the ceasefire. All of this goes into many of the topics that we were seeing develop yesterday. I think, just remember this, without me giving anything away. I was so curious. It made no sense to me. I was compiling all the different parts of the 10-point plan from Iran, and I was like, wait a minute, there's 3 or 4 versions here. Some of them are radically different. Some of them look like they are the same plan, very maximalist, very amazing if you're an IRGC member. Some of them are just completely different. Some of them are kind of the same. A lot of different versions. What does this mean? We're going to go into that coming up in the next segment. Here's Glenn.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. So yesterday seemed a little chaotic, and I don't know about you. I get worn down by stuff like this, where it's constantly changing, and it's not that it's just constantly changing, because that's the fog of war. But you notice nobody's talking about the fog of war. Very well known. What is the fog of war? War is moving so fast, so many moving pieces are happening, you just don't really see things clearly, because you can't. It's moving so quickly. But nobody's talking about that. That's why I'm suggesting slow down, everybody. Slow down. Slow down. Don't dig your heels in on anything, because you don't know. We're in the fog of war. And I get so tired because I know this is going to move, but then everybody digs their heels in and they are saying, I have to hate this person, or you have to hate me, or whatever. Oh my God, I'm so tired of that. Yesterday, Glenn Greenwald came in, and this is something that Ricky is upset about, because I'll let her explain for a sec. But I don't hate Glenn Greenwald. I like Glenn Greenwald. I think he's done a lot of great things. I disagree with him on some things, and that's okay. That is the most Isn't that the cornerstone of what we're trying to protect if we're saying we want to protect and save the republic? I want to protect his right to say I'm wrong. That's the way this is supposed to work. And I'm not going to hate him for saying I'm wrong. I'm just not. And you know what? He, in the end, might be right. I don't think he is. What he was bringing up yesterday about the ceasefire, right?
Yes. So you got community noted, and this isn't about X Wars. This isn't about slamming former friends of the show like Dave Smith and Glenn Greenwald.
They are friends of the show.
Sorry, not former, current friends of the show. We love you, and we just don't understand why you have to slam Glenn on X, but maybe it's because this is how you get paid. Anyways, because of their slams on you, because you had some humility yesterday. You said you didn't remember Lebanon being included in the ceasefire agreement. Yesterday was a very kinetic day, lots of changes, lots of back and forth, lots of various deal plans being passed around on X, and we didn't know what was real and what was true and what was still in development. So at the end of the day, you got a community note. That means for those of you who don't live on X and still have a soul, and still have a soul, this means a bunch of people decided to fact check us. Well, I feel very passionate about making sure that we get the story right. So we spent all day yesterday figuring out, were we wrong? Is it true? Was Lebanon included in the ceasefire agreement? And we were sorry, but we were right. And everyone else is wrong. And they're the ones missing context, not us. Rant over.
Wait. May I push back? I'm not sure we're right. It depends on who you listen to.
We're right in that we said we're not sure. There are various versions of the ceasefire agreement going out.
You're right.
As of the time,
you're right. Okay.
All right. So
I thought
we have
you were
the timeline.
Saying, okay. You were. Do I have to go through the timeline?
You don't. It's very tedious, but you make the point today and yesterday that as of 10 a.m. yesterday, the version that we saw and the version that we listened to was from Donald Trump. We didn't even see the one from Pakistan.
Right. And didn't we
Iran.
talk about that a little bit on the show yesterday, Jason?
Well,
didn't we talk about how because we got something from PBS or something?
Specifically,
that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, exactly. For that clip, it had just come out from the president. And this was right after the news that Israel had bombed, elements within Lebanon. And so a PBS reporter asked the president, was Lebanon included? And he said very specifically, they were not included in the deal. And he went on to say that everyone knows this. That's what you were responding to. So we were not taking the word of Pakistan, the Iranians, anything else, which I'm sure you'll get into in a second on the multiple different versions. We were taking the word from the president of the United States. That's what you were reacting to in that clip.
So let me just give you. So the U.S. and Iran only mentioned a ceasefire in Iran and between the U.S. and Iran with Pakistan as the mediator. Pakistan confirmed the deal. This is Tuesday night. But added that the ceasefire covered the entire region, including Lebanon. Israel stated it supports Trump's version of the ceasefire. Notice that? But added that Iran must extend the ceasefire to include Israel and regional allies, and specifically said Israeli attacks in Lebanon were immune. Okay. Now, remember, nobody's reporting that the ceasefire is being violated by the IRGC. I don't think the people that we are sitting down at the table with, but by the IRGC. They're attacking all of the neighbors in the Middle East. Okay, what was it? Did I say 91, 71? I don't remember. A lot of missiles were lost and lobbed over to the Arab countries from Iran. Nobody talks about that. They talk about Israel. Well. So yes, and I don't remember seeing that because I didn't read the press release from Pakistan because Pakistan also was cutting and pasting, 10-point deals, and I don't know what I can trust from Pakistan. I don't actually look at Pakistan as a ally, the country that was, hiding Osama bin Laden for a long time. I know it's a complex situation, blah, 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 but we can trust them. Great. I would trust but verify everything. Here's what this comes down to, okay? Who do you trust? Who do you trust with information? Now, I'm going to be straight up with you. I don't fully trust anyone, because everyone has their own reasons for saying things. For instance, I think the president is being honest, but I also think the president can't say some things because of the markets, because of whatever, even politics. I just say that. I hope it never comes down to that, but politics, he's got to also politics. So I don't trust anyone. But do you trust anything that is coming from Iran? I don't. Okay? I don't. Do I trust anything from Israel? In this situation, I don't. Now, you know, I'm a supporter of the Israeli state and the Jewish people, but I don't trust anything that's coming out of Israel. Why? Because they have their own interests. They are a nation that thinks that they are facing, you don't have to agree with this, but they think they're facing an existential threat. They think it's us or them, period. And this is their time, and they're not going to do it anymore. Okay? So their interest is that. Wipe these people out before they wipe us out. So I don't trust them because they're working towards their goals. Do you trust Pakistan? Pakistan. The prime minister. Do you know anything about the prime minister of Pakistan? Because I don't. So if I look at just those four, and say U.S., Iran, Israel, Pakistan, there's only one choice for me to trust, and I don't fully trust, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and that's us. That's the United States. So when you are looking at what the president is saying, and he's saying, no, we didn't agree with Lebanon. We didn't agree with that. Israel, I don't trust Israel, so I discount what they say. I certainly discount what Iran says, because Iran, the night before, it came out because of the president that Iran, what they issued and what the president issued, whether they're true or not, I don't know. But they were on the same page about it was Iran. The attacks on Iran had to stop. That's what the ceasefire was about. Then comes Pakistan. I'm having a really hard time here because it seems so obvious to me. We're at war. I'm not saying that our side is always right. I'm not saying that our side couldn't lie. I'm just saying if I have to, in a snap moment, when the facts are absolutely unclear and we're in the fog of war, you do one of two things. You say, I don't trust anybody. Or, I don't trust anybody, but the one I trust the most, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to our side. And I don't know why people can't do that. I really don't. I think it is a mental disorder at this point. I really do. And I understand that people they don't want war. I don't either. They don't want any of this stuff. But really? You believe Pakistan and Iran more than you believe our side? Okay. And I'm not saying that we're not going to lie, and I'm also not saying that we have facts anywhere. What we have are people making claims. Do we have the audio of who was it? Was it Trump or Caroline or who was it that was yesterday was saying, we don't even know the 10-point plans. There are like 50 different 10-point plans out there. We have that? Go ahead.
The Iranians originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false. With the president's deadline fast approaching and the United States military completely decimating Iran with each passing hour, the regime acknowledged reality to the negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the president and his team. President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The president's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. And the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal is completely absurd. The president will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he as a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks.
So, this is why I say to you, slow down, don't harden a position. Because yesterday, before you heard about the multiple different 10-point plans, and there was confusion yesterday, I'm like, wait a minute, this one came from Iran, this one came from us, which one is right, blah, blah, blah. And then later in the day, you hear this. You can be right now, but 10 minutes later, you can be completely wrong. Because fog of war, we can't trust anything right now. All I'm saying is, don't add to the confusion. Don't add to the chaos. There are agents of chaos that want chaos. Don't get involved in it in any way. Don't add any chaos to anything. Don't harden yourself in any position now, because when you do, you will start just you'll have to defend it, and you'll start making enemies. You'll start accusing people of being enemies, and then you will have a very hard time to retreat from that. And you need to be able to be flexible right now and say, I don't know. I don't know. With the information that I have right now, this is what it looks like, but I don't know. With the information that I have, and that information, I, for one, trust the United States more than any of the other players. So I'm going to put my trust there. It might be misplaced in the end, but I'm putting my trust there. But I'm not putting my bet on the table. I'm telling you where I'm leaning. I'm going to lean, because I don't know the truth yet. I'm going to lean towards us, give us the benefit of the doubt, because the others are not reliable. And I'm not going to harden my position. I'm not going to get into a fight every day when the facts of that fight and that argument change every day. Let's just look at the facts as they are today. Deal with what we can. Be aware of everything, because it's moving quickly. Be aware of everything so you're not ever caught off guard, and you understand what's happening. But there's no reason to raise your blood pressure. None whatsoever. Back in just a second. I'll tell you about real estate agents I trust. There is a big difference between somebody who can do a job and somebody who does it well every single day. And in real estate, that difference can cost you. Because on the surface, it looks really simple. You put the house on the market, you show it, you negotiate, you close, done. But underneath that, there's a lot of work, a lot of hundreds of decisions that shape the outcome. And most of them don't look important in the moment. How do you price it? How do you position? How much money do I actually have to spend on fixing it up for the sale? Will it actually make a difference? You get all of those things right, get everything right, it works. You get some of them wrong, and you can lose time, you can lose money, or you can lose both. That's why I started Real Estate Agents I Trust, because you don't know you need somebody who can get you through the whole process until you need somebody who can get you through the whole process. You need somebody who's been vetted, who knows the market, who understands how to navigate all these decisions, and is not learning as they go. Please check out realestateagentsitrust.com. Realestateagentsitrust.com. They'll show you how to buy or sell your home, even in these tough markets. The name says it all. Realestateagentsitrust.com.
You're going to have to hold that thought, my friend. We got a schedule to keep. Beck. We'll be back.
Welcome back, Glenn Beck Insiders, and to the Torch Insider Show. I'm going to go deeper, a lot deeper, into what Glenn just said, but I'm probably going to hold off just a little bit to the next segment, just in case Glenn wants to go even further, and then play you some of the additional audio and video from yesterday that he just stopped me from playing before. So I don't want to do it if he doesn't want me to do it. So I'm gonna wait and get some confirmation from here. Oh, go do it? Okay. Well, it was that thing from J.D. Vance, so that might be actually worth playing. Because that was, I think, what you were originally looking for. That kind of it was the explainer of the multiple different parts.
Hang on just a second. How much time am I going to have here? Let me look on the other side. Hang on. A little over a minute. You're going to have to play it here because I'm not going to have time. I only have about a minute on this half. I might pick it up later, but go ahead and share it now.
Okay. So I'll play that at the top of the hour, Insider, so that we can have a little bit more time to really go into that because it explains everything. It explains all of the confusion. But in speaking of confusion, I want to hit on a couple of things that Glenn just mentioned. And this goes to this first thing I want to talk about as far as who broke what ceasefire. I mean, I'm at the point now, I don't even think there is a ceasefire. I think there's a negotiation amongst splinter groups within Iran. And now part of that fifth generation warfare that Dark Star so eloquently pointed out, I think that that's even part of the negotiation tactic because there are splinters within the Iranian regime right now that everyone's looking at each other like, wait, are you negotiating? Are you negotiating? Are you guys thinking you're going to lead after this is over? Oh, no, but we want to lead. This is between the IRGC and the presidential administration, basically. They're having these fights. And you can see this. I'll show this to you later from Iran International. This is a very real fight that's happening right now. One side is trying to derail the negotiations. The other side is saying, guys, what are you doing? We're trying to survive. So that is a very real thing. But right now, I think that a lot of that confusion is coming from that infighting. Glenn mentioned at the very top of the show about the breaking of the ceasefire that no one spoke about. So Donald said that he said, wait a minute, the Israelis broke the ceasefire at 10. Where am I wrong? So I'll go into this again more at the top of the show. If you're not a subscriber, you need to subscribe because we're going to go into this a lot at the top of the show because there's a lot to cover here. We need some time. So you're going to lose access if you don't subscribe. Go to glennbeck.com/torch and join me as we go through some of this weirdness, some of this stuff that's going to help us understand where the confusion is coming from. But this is the story that no one talked about. Producer Matt, throw it up. So the Gulf Arab countries were freaking out after the ceasefire was declared. All attacks should have stopped. Everyone immediately was laser focused in what's Israel doing, what's Israel doing, what's Israel doing. Meanwhile, while everyone's looking at that, Iran, which 100% this was the IRGC, just disregarded what the negotiations from that splitter faction said. This is from Al Jazeera. They made a compilation of it. I looked through. I was looking for local news that was confirming this. All of this is confirmed. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, all of them reported strikes from Iran on their infrastructure, oil fields, all of that. When they were asked what the heck is going on, Iran made a statement saying we're retaliating from when you guys struck our oil fields. But wait a minute, I thought there was a ceasefire. No one reported on this breakage of the ceasefire. Only later, once they saw this coming from Iran, Israel, and Lebanon, did they start reporting on ceasefire violations. Why would they do that unless it's coming from bad intent? A lot more coming up. Glenn.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. And by the way, the attack on our Western culture and society is still growing. It is amazing. I'm going to share something with you here in about an hour about what's happening in Tennessee with the Islamists, and it is slow and and subtle, but it is dangerous and steady. And I'm going to share that with you. And we put something up on YouTube, and I watched it the other day, and I just could not take it because it was for YouTube. We had to edit it in certain ways, and like everything had to be taken out. And I watched it, and I'm like, this is unwatchable, guys. And so I've just posted it at Stop the Conquest. You can get it unedited. I'm not going to censor myself. So go to stoptheconquest.com. You can get the blueprint of the jihadist plan to destroy the Western way of life and America. You can get all of the bonus material and the booklet that goes with it. I want you to share it with everyone you know and your church. glennbeck.com/torch or stoptheconquest.com.
Welcome back to the Torch Insider Show. Here we go. We have a lot of ground to cover. I want to show this, though, before we get into it. This was done by Insider Nicole. This is hilarious. Producer Matt, throw this up. It's you and me, buddy. It's myself and producer Matt, the action figures from yesterday, flying Funyuns, endless slapping. You guys crack me up. You're hilarious. I love this, Insider Nicole. Thank you so much. This is great. I'm gonna have to try and see this end up happening some way and end up getting this done. But anyway, we are going way into this. We're gonna play you some audio. I'm gonna play you some video. We're gonna go into some of this confusion that we were hovering around yesterday, and we actually have the time to do it right now. So I want to hit this comment too, because I think this is very important. Before I get to that comment from Tingle Shabazz, I think the short sleeve English version of what Glenn is saying is this: shut your pie hole until you know what's going on. But for real, I mean, this is, it's not healthy with the way that we're treating the news, or how the mass majority of big time influencers on social media and even the mainstream media, how they are handling the news. This like very clickbaity, let's instantly get out a hot take, which in a lot of times is dangerous. And that leads me into the next comment from Daniel. Daniel said, being honest, from the people I've talked to in the last couple weeks about the war with Iran, at least 50% have a lot of hate for Israel and Jews, just a little concerning for me. Now, on Israel specifically, it's very, very, I think it's good to have a healthy bit of skepticism, and also knowing that Israel is a country, a nation, just like any other country that's going to have their own interests. So they are going to pursue those interests. My problem is when it's clear that there is bad intent and it's already coming from a bad place, and you're not looking at it rationally. You're just waiting for that instant news to react, to say that, hey, this proves my point. See what I was telling you about Israel? This proves my point. Well, Glenn was saying, like, let's take a step back and see what the news is. Now, everyone was rushing to say Israel had violated the ceasefire. That was the talking point. And they were running with it, and it was affecting a lot of people. Meanwhile, as I showed you before in the last segment, Iran was already which in my opinion was 100% the IRGC splinter faction within Iran right now. They were already violating the ceasefire. Why was nobody talking about that? Why were they just laser focused in on what Israel was going to do? In my opinion, and this is not everybody, but this is, if you have bad intent already in your brain and heart, that is what you are going to be laser focused on. We're just saying to broaden out and take a step back and look at the entire situation as it's unfolding. Let's let information come to us in its totality and find out what happens. Well, when you do that, you see the ceasefire was already being broken. You do that, and you start seeing weirdness going on with this 10-point plan. Now, this 10-point plan, do you remember you and I speaking about this yesterday? I was absolutely confused on it. I was compiling a list of the 10-point plan because I wanted to have it for Glenn to talk about it yesterday. Well, I couldn't find a consensus on what the 10-point plan was. I saw multiple different versions, 3 or 4. Some of them were radically different than others. Some of them said that mentioned Lebanon. Several of them mentioned Lebanon as being part of it. One, a huge issue, mentioned that one of the demands was for all U.S. forces to abandon bases in the Middle East. Some of them did not mention that at all. I was like,